Chris O'Neill from Sew the Distance. Thank you for joining me today. In this tutorial, we are going to be making these awesome bowl cozies. These are the perfect quick holiday gift to sew. They're perfect to sew and sell at craft fairs and bazaars and all that wonderful stuff. They hold a bowl, which you can use it for ice cream or soup or whatever you want to protect your hands from the heat or cold or whatever. These are microwavable because they are made of 100% cotton, which we will talk about in a minute. I had so much fun making these. I even made one out of a panel. Look at this. It's so cute. We even have Santa on it. Look at that. So I'll show you how to make it out of a panel later on in the video, but first I'm going to show you the basics of making it. For this tutorial, I'm going to show how to use the Creative Grids small bowl cozy using this template. I got this at a yard sale at my guild. Yet another reason to join a guild. This is great. I wasn't sure how to use it, but it's so easy and so much fun, especially with this template. Now there's a bunch of templates out there. I think there's probably even free ones that you can get, but this really was awesome to work with. I'll put a link to this in my description. All this information will also be on my blog, and I'll try to get a PDF too up of the written instructions because I know many of you like that. So let's get started making it. I'm gonna make it out of Christmas fabric. I have a check and a Santa fabric. But if you're gonna be giving them as a gift, you might wanna consider making them out of non-holiday fabric just because then they could use them all year long. On the screen now, you'll see a list of all the supplies. Again, this will all be on my blog and in the description below, so you can check it out there too. But if you want, make sure you pause the video and take a screenshot or a picture of this, or even jot it down. All right, let's get started making these. So we have 2 pieces of fabric, both 11 inches by 11 inches, and you can use the same fabric if you want to. I like to use a contrasting fabric, that way you can make it reversible. It's a lot of fun too, but you don't have to. And I also have my 2 pieces of batting here, 100% cotton. Everything in this is 100% cotton because then you can put it in the microwave with no problem. I also don't use any fabrics that have metallic in them, and I use 100% cotton thread as well. So our first step is to fold the 2 pretty fabrics that you're going to be using for the outside and inside of your bowl. And we're going to fold them in half this way and then in half this way. And we're going to press them really well. So I'm going to grab my ironing surface here. And I'm just going to fold this in half, and I'm going to be really careful. You want it to be nice and even, and just press it. And then I'm going to fold it again and press it. And I'm going to do the exact same thing to the other piece. I have 2 pieces that look like this. I'm going to move the pressing surface out of the way here. And then I'm going to get a small mat that I have. I could use my rotating mat too if I wanted to, but this will work really well. And this is just an old mat that my husband cut down. And you can see we have 2 sides that have folds and 2 sides that do not. We're going to put the folds towards us like this. And I like to put them this way because to me, this makes the most sense in my mind. And right on the template, it tells you to line up the fold edges on this corner, just like that. And then I take a small rotary cutter. I like that, with a nice new blade, and cut. Be very careful that you don't cut your hand. Make sure to turn this when you get over here. Cut along that. If you feel more comfortable, you can draw it and cut it out with scissors. Just like that. And these are your darts, these parts. So let me open up, I'll show you what I mean. It's gonna look like a flower. Look how pretty. And we're gonna do the exact same thing with the other piece. All right, so now you have 1 piece that looks like this and 1 piece like this. This is your front and back and outside of your bowl. But again, it's reversible, so it's not a big deal. I'm gonna press these, get these creases out, and I'll show you the next step. So these are pressed and ready to go. Now the next step is a little iffy because the directions say to do the exact same thing with your batting pieces. I don't like doing that. I think it gets too bulky. And also I like to be able to attach my pieces first and make sure everything is staying flat. So what I do is I take one of my batting pieces and I lay one of the outside pieces on top with the pretty side facing up. And what I'll do is take basting stitches really close to the edge, like 1/8 of an inch from the edge, and go all the way around. Then I cut out the piece. And I do that with both of these. And it makes it nice and stable, and it's easier to cut out. Okay, so these are all set. They're basted down nicely, nice and flat and secure. So our next step is to trim them up. You can do this 2 different ways. I like to take my template and just lay it on one quadrant of this and use my rotary cutter to go around and trim that. But you can also use scissors. In fact, I use the scissors for the darts because I don't want to overshoot that valley and then have a nick in it. So I'll go around the outside with the template and then finish it up with scissors. So just like that. And I'll do that to both pieces. Okay, these pieces are all done. And now it's time to sew. And this is the fun part. This is when it all comes together. So we're going to need to make these darts. And all we're going to do is turn this over like this and line these 2 pieces up, these 2 edges. And we're going to sew from that point, we're just beyond it, all the way to the edge. And we're going to backstitch both ends to make sure it's secure. And we're going to do that to all of these. We're going to just fold them and stitch, fold and stitch. We're folding right sides together to do this. We're going to do that with both pieces on all 8 darts, so 4 on each panel. Okay, so these are finished. Aren't they cute? So our next step is finishing this up. Now we do have these wonderful darts. You can trim them down if you want to. I don't know. I've seen people do it and I've seen people not do it. So it's totally up to you. I like to keep them nice and secure because I don't want a hole or anything coming out in that seam. I feel like that would have a lot of stress on it from the bowls. I am going to turn one so it's outside right. And then I'm going to place it directly into the other bowl. So notice I'm doing right sides together. And next I'm going to go around and clip these seams here. And I'm going to make sure that they nest together. So I'm putting one going one way and one going the other. I'm just going to take a bunch of clips and clip right at those seams. And I'm going to do this all the way around, lining those darts up. Just like that. Now before I clip the rest of this bowl, I'm going to mark where I'm going to open. I'm going to leave the opening so I can turn it. And I like to do that before I clip the rest just because it gives me space to do it. So I'm just going to fold that down. I personally like to leave the opening here close to a valley but not in the valley because then when I top stitch it, it's a little easier to do. So I just put 2 marks there as a reminder that I need to stop and start at those spots. I've been known to go all the way around and not do that, and then I end up using the seam ripper, which is no fun. I'm going to now clip all of these edges nice and secure. You can use pins if you want. I just find clips are easier. Now that it's all clipped, it's time to sew all the way around this edge, leaving that opening. Don't forget to leave the opening. I'm going to use a 1/4 inch. And I also am going to use a walking foot. So that opening is a tad too small. I realized that when I started to try to turn it. So I'm just going to use a seam ripper and open it a little bit more so I can get my hand in there. Oh, that's better. You don't want it too small, but you don't want it too big either because you do have to close it up. Now notice I'm not trimming this down yet. I am going to trim it down, but first I want to make sure that I caught everything and everything is right. Now for this first check, I don't have to push everything out. I can just kind of peek in the seams, make sure everything is good, which it is. Yay! All right, I'm going to turn it back around so we can trim it. Okay. So now I'm going to go in and trim all the excess off, and I'm also going to just snip in those curves, especially in this valley, so it lays nice and flat. And I don't want to trim too close to that seam because I don't want to cut the seam, but I want to get it pretty close so we don't have the bulk. Now when I get to the part where I have my opening, I don't want to trim that because I want to have enough that I can turn under that edge when we turn it around. That's going to make it easier for easing in. So I'm going to skip over that area and keep going. And that looks pretty good. All right, now it's time to turn it. If I can find the hole. There we go. I like to use one of these. I forget what these are called. Hera marker maybe? I'm not sure, I can't remember. I'll put it up on the screen. And I just go in with that curved side and the pointy side and I just work out those curves. And I'm just running that point along the edge of that seam line, and it pushes everything else out nicely. You can use a chopstick or a pen or anything like that. Just make sure that the cap's on the pen and all that. So if you don't have one of these, that's okay. You're gonna go all the way around. Okay, so this is almost completely rolled out, and this is probably the hardest part of the whole thing, at least in my opinion, because you got to kind of really get in there and push it out. It's very bulky, so it takes a bit of time. I'm going to leave this opening as is right now until I take it to the iron here. There, it's coming. You just have to work at it. So we're going to take our ironing board, and we are pressing that nice and flat, pulling it out as we press, making sure we get a nice curve on that and go all the way around. All right, so now we're going to fold in that edge that we left as an opening, and we're just folding it in a little bit. I'm going to grab some clips. I like the mini clips for this. And I'm just folding it in and clipping. Now that I have that good and secure, I can do two things, which if you know me, you've seen some of my other videos, you know I'm going to hand stitch this shut before I run it through the machine to top stitch it. Well, you can go right to the machine if you're feeling confident and top stitch right around that edge using about a 3.1 or 3.2 stitch length. I also use a denim needle for this because it is quite thick with all those layers. And I find I get a nice stitch when I do that. But once you do that, once you top stitch around the outside, it's done. It's totally done. And you have this adorable reversible bowl. So I'm gonna finish this up and I'll meet you back here and we'll talk a little bit more about some tips. And I'll also show you how I used a panel to make one of these too. Okay, it's all done. It looks so nice. It's reversible. Look at that, how cute that is. The last step is just to give it a good press and just make sure everything is nice and neat. And there you have it, an adorable bowl cozy. I'm gonna put a bowl in it too to see. Look at how cute. It fits nice and tight, which I like. And you can use it like as a hot pad when you're eating soup or when you're eating ice cream too, to keep your hands from being cold. This would make a great hostess gift. You could even put some goodies in here and wrap it up. All right, so that panel one here, I love this one. This is so cute. The way I made this is I took a panel and I picked out the pieces that I wanted on the edges. Let me grab one of those panels and I'll show you what I mean. All I did was kind of lay it out using a big ruler, and then I also played with the placement with the template just to see what I wanted to keep in the seam. It didn't work out great. I did get pieces that were upside down. I cut off this little fox. So I think if I did it again, I'd be a little bit more generous and make sure that the seams were centered a bit more in that 11-inch square. And I might try it again because these are a lot of fun. I also thought about just randomly cutting up the panel into 11-inch squares and going from there and seeing what I got, because these colors are just so pretty, foresty and nice. You could absolutely do that. And I think you'd still have a really great bowl cozy. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you make these as gifts. Let me know if you do. Again, I'll have all the information on my blog, and I'll have a downloadable PDF to go along with this with the measurements and all of that wonderful stuff. I hope you have a great day. I hope you take some time to sew, and I'll see you real soon. Bye.